Hi class, welcome to week 4. You have kind of a busy week, and so I want to make sure that if you want to start this information early, you can, and that you are set and ready to go. So right off the bat, you're going to see you have exam 2, and you're like, what's this? I just did an exam last week. Well, that's summer school. And also the exams aren't broken out exactly evenly as far as chapters go, because I think it's helpful to you to lump like material together. And so this next exam only covers 3 chapters, where the other exam covered 4. And so there's that. Now let's go over here to 7 and 8. So the reason why, unlike other times, why these 2 chapters, I kind of combine them. And the reason I combine them is it's just kind of simpler that way. It works well. Chapter 8 is alcohol, and we're going to do a very, very shallow dive into alcohol. Really, what is important out of that chapter for you is how do we metabolize alcohol? What are the storage forms of alcohol, i.e., what do we convert it to? How do we use it as an energy source? How do we process it? The different enzymes involved. Past that, we're really not going to talk about what binge drinking is or alcoholism or anything like that, just because we have limited time in this class and we're really looking at the science of nutrition. So you'll notice that this chapter is really short. So when you see that we have 3 chapters this week, don't totally panic, because it's really just touching on it. And that's why you also see this activity is actually a combined activity. Okay, so let's go back into week 4, and you have 7, 8, and chapter 9 content to evaluate here, and so that's all straightforward. The one thing I do want to point out about chapter 9 is that chapter 9 is actually where we really start getting to the science of nutrition. So chapter 5, 6, 7, 8 was really about this is how we take in this macronutrient, right? Carbohydrate, protein, fat, and this is how we break it down. And this is how we're able to digest it, and this is our storage forms of it, and this is what we'll derive from it. This is Chapter 9 is really about how do we take all that and turn it into ATP? Because at the end of the day, when we talk what cellular respiration is energy metabolisms. How do we convert the food that we eat into the energy that our body needs? Our body only operates off 2 forms of energy. Glucose, which you just studied in chapter 5, because our brain and nervous system will operate off simple glucose, and then everything else is ATP. And so how do we get that ATP? And why is it fat yields more ATP than carbohydrates? And what is the processing for how we process a fat versus how we process a carbohydrate? Because actually how we yield that ATP is very different given the macronutrient we took in. And so this chapter is going to seem short, but it's going to seem very dense. Don't drop the ball in this chapter. This is fundamental to understanding why the food you eat matters. And so make sure that you take the time with this chapter, because things will get tougher from here. So you have an activity. Also, this is just like a fun thing for you to do. It comes from a biology textbook, and so there's some things that are not going to relate. You can see I don't have Adobe Flash on my current computer, but you do, because you ran that check. And so you can see here how you can look at how glycolysis works, which is how we derive ATP from a carbohydrate, how the Krebs cycle works, which you're familiar with the Krebs cycle, electron transport chain, and so on. And so there are little videos for you to watch, and then you can answer some questions. This is just to make sure, like, hey, I am picking up on this. I am getting it. It's just a fun little thing to do. So it's not graded. It's just a study tool for you. Okay, so let's go back into week 4. And the big thing I want to focus on here is forks over knives. And so this is a course-wide, class-wide discussion board that you are going to do, and it's going to be on this documentary, Forks Over Knives. You can access this through the link I have provided for you here. In addition, you can just log into the MyCWI library and access it through our library, so you can watch it at home, definitely. The documentary is probably about 2 hours. It's actually very interesting. And so really for this, we're focusing on what is the benefit of eating animal protein, right? Because there's lots of current research to suggest that maybe animal protein is not the best way we should be getting our protein. And we have a lot of competing factors on this. And so part of looking at nutrition as a science is you have to start looking at the players. Why do people tell us what to eat, when to eat, and who benefits from us eating it? Right? And so what we've come to find a lot, especially with the current food pyramid and the government evaluation of our food substrate, we find that there are a lot of factors that contribute to why we're told to eat something that have nothing to do with the fact that they're actually good for us. They have a lot to do with the fact that certain lobbyists pay for it. They have a lot to do with maintaining our economy. They have a lot to do with keeping certain people employed. It's big business all day long. Food is big business. So is disease, unfortunately. Um, and so part of what you're learning in this class is how to dive into that a little bit and say, okay, well, this is what my mom always said, but what is actually true? Do I need to look at my plate and see a big hunk of meat and a bunch of starch and then like my one side sad vegetable? Is that what my plate really should look like? And what we're actually seeing is other countries completely have revamped their food charts. U.S. is very behind when it comes to understanding what human body actually needs, or at least how it's marketed. And so I hope you find this documentary pretty interesting. Here is all the information you're going to need for your discussion board. Again, your initial post is due by Wednesday. Your peer responses are due by Sunday. And so I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know if you have questions on this.